Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. In recent years, the development of the chip industry has become less peaceful. In addition to the changes caused by its own cycle, the United States has continued to intervene. As a result, what TSMC's CEO Morris Chang said is that globalization and free trade are almost dead. The United States has implemented a two-pronged approach. On the one hand, it provides subsidies to promote the development of local chips, and on the other hand, it imposes restrictions on the development of Chinese chips. In this regard, China couldn't bear it any longer, so it launched a two-pronged attack, with Huawei and SMIC participating. In the process of global chip development, the United States has a great advantage in chips, and chip giants such as Intel, Qualcomm, and Nvidia have emerged. China has the world's largest semiconductor market and provides an open development environment for foreign companies. Therefore, chip giants from many countries and regions around the world have come to China to develop their business. Not only American companies, but also Samsung and SK Hynix in South Korea, Tokyo Electronics and Nikon in Japan, and ASML in the Netherlands have all developed very well in the Chinese market. However, for its own self-interest, the United States directly broke the situation of free trade in the chip industry and began to impose restrictions. U.S. restrictions have been continuously increasing. First, it imposed a chip ban on Huawei, and later restricted SMIC from obtaining advanced chip manufacturing equipment such as EUV. Then, more than 600 companies such as Shanghai Microelectronics and YMTC were added to the entity list. Since then, Japan and the Netherlands have been brought into reach an agreement, and they want to contain China in all directions. Recently, the Netherlands and Japan have introduced relevant restrictive policies one after another. Although they both stated that they do not target specific countries, their intentions are obvious. Japan and the Netherlands are obviously cooperating with the United States to implement restrictions. Of course, China also understands who the precise target of the counterattack is. First of all, carry out precise counterattacks against key foreign enterprises. China has always adhered to the principle of open and inclusive international trade, and has never implemented reciprocal countermeasures against American companies. It hopes to solve the problem through communication, and has repeatedly issued warnings about restrictions. However, the United States does not seem to appreciate it. Not only did it not stop, but it intensified. Then China can only implement a precise counterattack. Recently, the Cyberspace Administration of China officially announced that it will conduct a security review of Micron's products sold in China. Although this is just a normal review, it has caused a lot of repercussions without mentioning how to conduct the investigation. It is said that as soon as the news came out, Micron's stock price fell sharply. The point is that Micron, as the world's leading storage giant, has been suffering a continuous decline in the price of memory chips since last year. Micron has already lost a lot, and now it is hit again. However, Micron was not wronged at all by being censored. Its behavior was too bad. In recent years, it has been lobbying the United States to suppress Chinese storage companies. It sued JMIC before, and later encouraged the addition of CXMT and YMTC to the entity list. In this regard, the US media believes that censoring Micron is a counterattack, and US companies such as Intel, Qualcomm, and Broadcom are also at risk of being censored. However, China's attitude is very clear. It will not target those foreign companies that operate legally and compliantly, but it does not mean that it will not take action. Recently, the US media Wall Street Journal reported that China has slowed down the approval speed of a number of US corporate mergers and acquisitions. Among them, one is Intel's $5.2 billion acquisition of Israel's Tower Semiconductor, and the other is MaxLinear's $3.8 billion acquisition of Silicon Motion Technology. Because it is a cross-border acquisition, it must be approved by China, one of the major markets. Once these two major acquisitions are successful, the strength of US chip companies will inevitably increase, so slowing down is considered an important counterattack. Secondly, promote the establishment of China's own chip standards. Recently, the inaugural meeting of the National Integrated Circuit Standardization Technical Committee and the first plenary committee meeting of the National Integrated Circuit Standardization Technical Committee were held in Beijing, which means that China has begun to fully establish domestic chip standards. The purpose of this meeting is to open up and strengthen the upstream, midstream and downstream of the domestic chip industry chain, mobilize all links in the industry chain to participate in the formulation of standards, speed up the formulation of standards in core key areas of integrated circuits, and create a standardization system covering the entire industry chain. There are many organizers of the conference, including 90 companies including Huawei, SMIC, Unisoc, HiSilicon, and ZTE. It can be seen that China's chip development is no longer just following foreign countries, but to create its own chip standards and promote the coordinated development of domestic chip companies. It is no longer simply to make up for what is lacking, but to communicate together to achieve overall breakthroughs as soon as possible. Although the situation facing China is very severe, no matter how the United States increases restrictions, it will never be able to stop China's progress. Although China insists on openness and inclusiveness, there is a limit to patience. As the saying goes, come and don't reciprocate.